The crash landing. Roy Grayson's heart raced as he peered out of the jagged hole in his spaceship. The metallic carcass of his ship was a twisted mess, smoke billowing into the air. He had been on a routine patrol mission through the outer reaches of the galaxy when a sudden malfunction had sent him spiraling into an uncharted planet. Now, as he climbed out of the wreckage, he could see the dense, pulsating forests surrounding him. The trees glowed with vibrant hues, casting eerie shadows that danced on the ground. Disoriented and bruised, he tried to collect his thoughts. The air was thick with humidity, heavy with an unfamiliar scent, a blend of earthiness and something sweet, almost intoxicating. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the unknown air, and glanced around. All he saw was an alien landscape, one he had never imagined encountering. Tall trees with bark that shimmered under the fading lights surrounded him, their leaves reflecting colors he had only seen in the most imaginative of dreams. "Hello, is anyone there?" Roy called out, his voice echoing strangely in the humid air. Silence hung in the thick atmosphere, only broken by the rustling of unseen creatures in the underbrush. He grabbed a jagged piece of wreckage, a makeshift weapon, and began to cautiously make his way into the jungle. The foliage was unlike anything he had ever encountered. Leaves that shimmered with iridescent hues, vines that seemed to sway gently as if they were alive, reaching out toward him. Each step felt perilous. As he ventured deeper into the jungle, he could feel the pulse of the forest, a rhythmic thrum that seemed to resonate through his bones. The sounds of alien wildlife surrounded him, a cacophony of strange bird calls and insect chirps. He pushed on, telling himself to keep it together. "Just find shelter and figure out how to signal for rescue," he muttered under his breath, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. Unbeknownst to Roy, a pair of luminous eyes watched him from the shadows. Leah, a lithe figure with skin that glimmered in shades of blue, crouched silently in the branches of a nearby tree. She had never seen a creature like him before, pale skin, strange coverings on his body, moving with an awkward gait through her forest home. Her heart raced as she observed this intruder. Was he a new predator, come to hunt her people? She gripped her spear tightly, ready to defend herself if needed. As Roy pushed further into the dense foliage, he became increasingly aware of the jungle's pulse. Suddenly, a blood-curdling screech pierced the air. Startled, he spun around just as a monstrous creature burst from the underbrush, a six-legged beast with razor-sharp claws and fangs dripping with venom. The beast lunged at him, its eyes glowing with hunger. Roy's combat training kicked in as he dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's initial attack. He rolled to his feet, brandishing the piece of wreckage like a sword. The beast circled him, its multiple eyes fixed on him as if sizing up its prey. Roy's mind raced, searching for a weakness. The creature lunged again, and he was ready this time. He sidestepped the attack and brought his makeshift weapon down hard on one of the creature's legs. It let out a shriek of pain and fury, but it only fueled its rage. From her hidden vantage point, Leah watched the battle unfold with growing fascination. This strange intruder fought with skill and bravery against one of the jungle's deadliest predators. Perhaps she had misjudged him. The fight raged on, and Roy barely managed to fend off the relentless attacks. His arms burned with fatigue as he parried and struck, narrowly avoiding the beast's claws. Just when it seemed the creature might overwhelm him, Roy spotted an opening. He feigned an attack to one side, then plunged his jagged weapon deep into the beast's throat as it lunged at him. It collapsed with a gurgling howl, its massive body thudding against the forest floor. Breathing heavily, Roy stood over his fallen foe, adrenaline coursing through him. "Not today, you ugly son of a..." His victorious moment was cut short by a low rumbling that shook the ground beneath his feet. Before he could react, an enormous tree came crashing down, the ground quaking with its descent. As the dust settled, Roy heard a cry of pain coming from beneath the fallen trunk. Without hesitation, he rushed toward the sound. There, pinned beneath a massive branch, lay a humanoid figure unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin was a pale blue, intricate patterns swirling across her arms and face. Large, almond-shaped eyes gazed up at him with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Hold on, I'll get you out," Roy shouted, though he knew she likely couldn't understand him. He braced himself against the branch, straining to lift it. His muscles screamed in protest, but he pushed through the pain, determined to help. Slowly, the weight began to shift. With a final surge of effort, he created enough space for the alien woman to wriggle free. Leah scrambled away, wincing at the pain in her leg where the branch had struck her. She stared at the strange creature who had saved her life, her previous certainty about his violent nature crumbling away. Roy approached Leah slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, knowing his words were meaningless to her, but hoping his tone would convey his concern. Leah's large eyes studied him intently. After a moment's hesitation, she spoke in a lilting language Roy couldn't comprehend. She gestured to her injured leg and then pointed at Roy, mimicking his fighting stance against the beast. Roy nodded, understanding her attempt at communication. "Yeah, that was quite a fight, but you're hurt. Let me help." He took a cautious step forward. Leah tensed but didn't retreat. Roy knelt beside her, gently examining her leg. It was bruised and swollen, but didn't appear broken. He tore a strip of fabric from his flight suit and began to wrap it around her injury. As he worked, Leah's initial wariness gave way to curiosity. She reached out tentatively and touched Roy's hair, marveling at its texture. He chuckled, the sound startling her. "Sorry," he said with a smile. "I guess I look as strange to you as you do to me." Leah tilted her head, then pointed to herself. "Leah," she said clearly. Roy's eyes widened in surprise. "Leah, is that your name?" He touched his own chest. "Roy. I'm Roy." Leah repeated the name, sounding musical in her accent. Their momentary connection was interrupted by a distant roar that made them both snap to attention. Leah's expression grew serious as she gestured urgently for Roy to follow her. "I guess we better get moving," Roy muttered, helping her to her feet. Together, they began to make their way deeper into the alien forest. As they traveled, Leah began to point out various plants and creatures to Roy, miming which ones were dangerous and which could be useful. She showed him how to move silently through the underbrush and how to spot the subtle signs of hidden predators. Roy was an attentive student, realizing quickly that his survival depended on this crash course in alien ecology. He watched in amazement as Leah used bioluminescent fungi to mark their trail and harvested sap from a thorny plant to treat her wound. As night fell, the forest came alive with an otherworldly glow. Bioluminescent creatures flitted through the air, and the very trees pulsed with inner light. Roy and Leah made camp in the hollow of a massive tree, its phosphorescent bark providing a soft, comforting glow. "This place is incredible," Roy murmured, gazing out at the luminous landscape. Leah smiled, pleased by his appreciation of her world. They shared a meal of strange, but surprisingly tasty fruits Leah had gathered along the way. As they ate, Roy attempted to explain his presence on this alien planet through a series of gestures and crude drawings in the dirt. He mimicked a ship flying through space, then crashing. Leah's eyes widened with understanding. "So you're not from this world," she said in her own language, knowing Roy wouldn't understand the words, but hoping he'd grasp her meaning. Roy shook his head, pointing up at the unfamiliar stars visible through the canopy. "I came from up there, a long way from home." Leah's expression softened with sympathy. She reached out and squeezed Roy's hand, a gesture of comfort that transcended language barriers. As they settled in for the night, Roy found himself marveling at how quickly his perception had shifted. Just hours ago, he had been lost and alone on a hostile alien world. Now he had an ally, perhaps even a friend, in this strange and beautiful place. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time since the crash, Roy felt a flicker of hope. He had survived the initial peril, and now he had Leia by his side. Together, they would navigate this alien world, exploring its wonders and dangers, forging a bond that transcended their differences. The journey begins. The dawn broke with a brilliant array of colors spilling across the horizon, casting a soft light through the canopy of the alien forest. Roy stirred from sleep, his body still weary from the previous day's battle, but invigorated by the prospect of a new adventure. He sat up in the hollow of the massive tree, stretching his limbs and looking around. Leia was already awake, her keen eyes scanning the surroundings, a sentinel in this vibrant world. "Good morning, Leia," Roy greeted, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. She turned to him, her large, expressive eyes sparkling with a mixture of curiosity and determination. In response, she pointed toward the trail leading deeper into the jungle. Roy understood immediately. They had to move. "Right, let's get going then," he replied, excitement bubbling within him. He had learned quickly that every moment in this alien world was filled with potential dangers and wonders. Leia had promised to lead him to the Lunar settlement, a place where he could find safety and learn more about her people. As they set out, Roy marveled at the forest's beauty. Bioluminescent flowers, glowing in various shades of blue and green, adorned the trees, their soft light illuminating the path ahead. Strange sounds echoed around them, chirps, growls, and rustles that hinted at the vibrant life hidden among the foliage. Roy found himself captivated by the alien ecosystem, each plant and creature telling a story of survival and adaptation. "Show me the way," Roy encouraged, following Leia as she expertly maneuvered through the dense underbrush. She paused occasionally to point out plants that were safe to touch or to eat, her gestures fluid and graceful. "This one is good for wounds," she explained, demonstrating how to crush the leaves to extract a soothing sap. Roy watched intently, committing each lesson to memory. Her expertise was invaluable, and he appreciated her willingness to share her knowledge. As they traveled, Roy began to ask questions, attempting to learn more about Leia and her world. He gestured to the vibrant flora. "What are these called?" Leia tilted her head, pondering for a moment before mimicking the shapes of the flowers in the air with her hands. "Fail," she said, clearly pleased to convey her culture. Roy repeated the word, practicing its pronunciation. It felt strange yet thrilling to be learning a new language, especially one so different from his own. "Fail," he said with a smile. "I like that. They're beautiful." Leia nodded, her expression brightening. She pointed to a cluster of colorful fruits dangling from a nearby tree. "Silver," she named them, and Roy took a moment to appreciate the sight. They were vibrant, bursting with color, and he couldn't resist plucking one from the branch. With a careful bite, he tasted the fruit, and a rush of sweetness flooded his mouth. "This is delicious," he exclaimed, savoring the flavor. Leia laughed, a melodious sound that echoed through the trees, and Roy felt a warmth spread through him. Their bond was growing stronger, and he relished the joy of companionship in this alien land. As they continued their journey, Roy's sense of wonder deepened. The forest was not just a backdrop, but a living entity, breathing and shifting with life. Vines curled around branches, and flowers seemed to sway in rhythm with the soft whispers of the wind. He could feel the forest's pulse, a soothing heartbeat that connected all living things. But amid the beauty, Roy remained aware of the lurking dangers. Leia's keen instincts guided them as they avoided treacherous paths filled with carnivorous plants and toxic marshes. "There," she warned, pointing to a patch of ground that bubbled ominously. "Stay away from that. It can make you sick." Roy nodded, grateful for her guidance. They moved with caution, weaving through the dense undergrowth and learning the nuances of the terrain. He felt a sense of pride in their teamwork, recognizing that every obstacle they overcame brought them closer together. Hours passed as they trekked through the vibrant jungle, the sunlight filtering through the canopy above. They paused briefly at a small stream, its waters sparkling as they tumbled over smooth stones. Leia knelt by the bank, cupping her hands to drink. Roy followed suit, the cool water refreshing and revitalizing. "Leia," He began after quenching his thirst. "What's the Lunar settlement like? Will your people welcome me?" Her expression shifted, a flicker of uncertainty passing over her features. She looked away momentarily, gathering her thoughts before meeting his gaze again. "They are wary of outsiders," she said slowly, her voice soft. "But you saved my life. That matters." Roy felt a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. What if they don't accept me? Leah reached out, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "You are brave, Roy. You fought for me. They will see your courage." He appreciated her reassurance, but uncertainty lingered in his mind. How would her people react to a human? Would they understand his intentions? As if sensing his apprehension, Leah squeezed his arm and smiled, her confidence infectious. "Together," she said, "we will show them." The pair pressed onward, the forest around them shifting from vibrant green to a darker palette as evening approached. The air grew cooler, and the chorus of sounds transformed into a symphony of nocturnal creatures awakening. Roy felt a tingle of excitement. They were drawing closer to their destination. As twilight descended, the forest glowed in hues of blue and violet. Leah's knowledge of the night world was evident as she guided Roy, her eyes sharp, scanning the environment for any signs of danger. He was in awe of how effortlessly she moved, as if she were one with the forest. Suddenly, a rustling sound caught their attention. Roy's heart raced as he instinctively reached for his makeshift weapon, prepared for anything. Leah held up a hand, signaling him to stay calm. "It's just the nocturnal creatures," she whispered. They watched as a group of small, glowing animals darted between the trees, their luminescent bodies flickering like fireflies. "Look," Roy exclaimed, pointing at the enchanting display. "They're beautiful." Leah smiled, her face lighting up with joy. "They help light the way. Follow them. They will lead us." Inspired, Roy followed Leah as the glowing creatures danced through the trees, their flickering lights guiding them like stars in the dark sky. The forest felt alive, each sound, each movement adding to the enchanting atmosphere. After what felt like hours of walking, they finally arrived at the edge of a clearing. There, illuminated by the moonlight, lay the Lunar settlement, a breathtaking sight that took Roy's breath away. The structures were a stunning blend of living wood and stone, seamlessly integrated into the trees, connected by bridges of vines that swayed gently in the breeze. Leah turned to him, her eyes filled with pride. "Welcome to my home." Roy stood in awe, marveling at the beauty before him. The settlement was unlike anything he had ever seen, a testament to the Lunari's deep connection with nature. His excitement was tinged with nervousness. This was it, the moment that could change everything. As they stepped into the settlement, they were met with curious stares. Lunar children peeked from behind their parents, eyes wide with wonder. Adults whispered among themselves, their expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. Roy felt their gazes upon him, and a knot tightened in his stomach. Leah stepped forward, her voice rising above the murmurs. "Everyone, this is Roy. He saved my life." Her proclamation hung in the air, a bold declaration that resonated with the gathered crowd. Some Lunari frowned, crossing their arms, while others leaned in, intrigued. Roy held his breath, waiting for their reaction. A tall figure stepped forward, an imposing presence among the crowd. The leader, Roy assumed, approached them with a wary expression, his intricate blue markings glimmering in the soft light. "Leah," the leader said, his voice low and commanding. "What brings this stranger to our home?" As Leah began to explain their journey, Roy felt a rush of adrenaline. He had crossed into the unknown, and the path ahead was filled with uncertainty. But he was ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. Together, they would forge a new destiny, one that could reshape the relationship between humans and the Lunari. This was just the beginning, and Roy Grayson was determined to make his mark on this alien world. Into the heart of the settlement. As Leah spoke passionately to the gathering crowd, Roy felt the weight of their eyes upon him. The Lunar leader, who had introduced himself as Commander Talk, studied Roy intently. The tension in the air was palpable, a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Roy's heart raced as he awaited their response, uncertain about how this new chapter in his life would unfold. Leia recounted their encounter in the jungle, emphasizing Roy's bravery in fighting off the monstrous creature and rescuing her from beneath the fallen tree. "He is not a threat," she insisted, her voice firm and unwavering. "He saved me. He fought for our lives." Torque's expression remained inscrutable as he listened, his eyes narrowing slightly. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he nodded. "Courage is respected in our culture, but trust must be earned," he declared, his voice resonating through the clearing. "You are not from our world, Roy Grayson, and you must prove your intentions if you wish to stay among us." A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Roy felt a surge of determination. "I want to help," he spoke up, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "I didn't come here to cause harm. I crashed on your planet, and I need your help to survive." He took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping over the curious faces. "Together, we can learn from each other. I have skills that could be useful." Torque regarded him thoughtfully. "Very well. If you wish to stay, you will assist us in defending our settlement. We face many dangers from the creatures of this world, and we need all the help we can get. In return, we will teach you our ways and help you find a way to return to your home." Relief washed over Roy, and a spark of hope ignited within him. "Thank you, Commander. I won't let you down." With that, Torque gestured for the crowd to disperse, but several Linar warriors remained, eyeing Roy with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Leia took his hand, leading him deeper into the settlement. As they walked, Roy's senses were overwhelmed by the beauty of his surroundings. The structures were unlike anything he had seen on Earth. They were crafted from living wood, shaped by the hands of the Linari, but still very much part of the forest. The walls glowed with bioluminescent patterns that shifted and changed, creating a stunning visual display. Vines adorned the structures, twinkling with tiny lights that resembled stars scattered across the night sky. "Welcome to Linara," Leia said, her voice filled with pride. "This is our home." Roy marveled at the harmony between the Linari and their environment. "It's incredible. You've created something truly beautiful here." Leia smiled, pleased by his appreciation. "We live in balance with nature. Every tree, every creature is part of our family." As they moved through the settlement, Roy noticed the Linari going about their daily lives. Some were weaving intricate baskets from vines, while others were preparing food in open-air kitchens, the aroma of unfamiliar spices wafting through the air. Children played under the watchful eyes of their parents, their laughter ringing like music amidst the sounds of the forest. "What do you do here?" Roy asked, genuinely intrigued. "Each Linari has a role," Leia explained. "Some are warriors, protecting our people from the predators of the forest. Others are healers, tending to the sick and injured. Many are builders, creating our homes and tools from the gifts of the forest." Roy felt a sense of admiration for Linari's way of life. "And what about you?" he inquired. "What is your role?" Leia hesitated for a moment before responding. "I am a scout. I traverse the forest, learning its secrets and keeping watch for dangers. My skills help keep our settlement safe." As they walked, Roy couldn't help but feel inspired by Leia's dedication. He wanted to prove himself worthy of their trust and to contribute to this extraordinary community. "I want to help with that," he declared. "Show me how I can assist." Leia's eyes lit up at his enthusiasm. "You'll train with the warriors. They will teach you how to defend yourself and our home. But first, you must learn the ways of the forest." They arrived at a large open area at the center of the settlement. Here, a group of warriors gathered, their blue skin adorned with intricate markings that told the stories of their victories and lineage. Torque stood among them, his presence commanding respect. "Today you welcome a new ally," he announced, gesturing to Roy. "He will train with us to learn the art of defense." The warriors eyed Roy with curiosity, sizing him up. "He is not like us," one warrior remarked, skepticism evident in his tone. True, Talk acknowledged. But he has proven his courage. If he wishes to fight alongside us, we will teach him. Roy stepped forward, feeling the weight of their gazes. I may not be a warrior, but I've trained in combat. I can learn quickly. A warrior named Kale stepped forward, crossing his arms over his chest. We shall see, human. The forest is unforgiving, and you must adapt to survive. Roy nodded, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. He was determined to prove himself. The training began immediately, and Roy found himself immersed in a whirlwind of activity. The Lenari warriors demonstrated various combat techniques, utilizing their agility and strength to their advantage. Roy struggled to keep up at first, but he was driven by the desire to earn their respect. Leah watched from the sidelines, her eyes filled with encouragement. You can do it, Roy. Just focus on your movements. As the day wore on, Roy found himself exhausted but exhilarated. He learned to wield a staff, practicing strikes and blocks with the warriors, who moved with an elegance that was mesmerizing. Each swing of the staff was a dance, a rhythm that he tried to master. He stumbled several times, but quickly regained his footing, determined to improve. Feel the forest around you, Kel instructed during one of their breaks. It guides your movements. The trees, the ground, they are your allies. Roy took a moment to catch his breath, feeling the thrum of life in the forest. He closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the jungle fill him. The rustle of leaves, the distant calls of creatures, it was all part of the experience. Slowly, he opened his eyes, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Let's go again, he said, a grin spreading across his face. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Talk called for a halt to the training. You have all done well today, he proclaimed. But the forest tests us at every turn. Tomorrow, we will venture into its depths. You will learn to navigate its dangers. Roy felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. He had come to this world seeking survival, and now he found himself part of a community, training to protect it. Later that evening, as they gathered for a communal meal, Roy felt a sense of belonging for the first time since his crash. The Lenari shared their stories and traditions, and he listened intently, fascinated by their rich history. They spoke of ancient battles against formidable foes and the unity that had kept their people strong. What is it like, where you come from? Leah asked, her curiosity evident. It's different, Roy replied, choosing his words carefully. We have cities, technology, and many challenges of our own, but we also have stories of bravery and friendship, just like yours. Leah's eyes sparkled with interest. I want to hear your stories. I'd love to share them, he replied, feeling a connection between their worlds. As they ate, Roy felt a warmth in his chest. He had come to this alien world alone and afraid, but now he was surrounded by allies, people who had welcomed him into their lives. After the meal, the Lenari sang songs that resonated through the trees, their voices harmonizing beautifully. Roy listened, captivated by the melodies. The songs spoke of nature, love, and the bonds that held their community together. He closed his eyes, letting the music wash over him, feeling a sense of peace settle within. As the stars twinkled above, Roy reflected on how far he had come. The forest, once a source of fear, was now filled with wonder and opportunity. He was ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to protect his new friends and prove himself worthy of their trust. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new dangers, and perhaps even deeper connections. Roy smiled to himself, grateful for the unexpected journey that had led him to this moment. He was ready for whatever the forest had in store. Into the depths of the forest. As dawn broke over the Lenara settlement, Roy woke to the vibrant sounds of the forest. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the sweet scent of dew-kissed leaves. He felt a rush of anticipation coursing through him, knowing that today would be a test of his skills and adaptability. The warriors of Lenara would take him into the depths of the forest, where danger lurked behind every shadow, but so did the chance for growth. After a quick breakfast of fruits and a warm herbal drink prepared by the Linari, Roy gathered his gear, a sturdy staff, woven from the resilient wood of the felled tree, and a belt adorned with small pouches for herbs and tools. Leah joined him, her expression a mixture of encouragement and concern. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, her large eyes searching his face. "I am," Roy replied confidently, though he felt the weight of uncertainty in his gut. "Today's training will be crucial. I want to prove that I can be a valuable ally." Leah nodded, a smile breaking across her face. "You will be. Just trust in the forest and in yourself." They met the warriors at the edge of the settlement, Torp leading the group. The air was electric with excitement and tension as they prepared to embark on their journey. "Today, we will enter the heart of the forest," Tork announced, his voice commanding attention. "We will practice our skills in a place where the dangers are real, but so are the rewards." Roy felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with a pang of fear. What kind of creatures lay hidden in the depths of this alien world? He looked at the warriors, who were dressed in their unique attire, a blend of armor and natural elements, ready for anything. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the lush greenery closed in around them. The vibrant colors intensified, and bioluminescent plants illuminated their path even in the daylight. The trees towered above, their branches intertwining to form a natural cathedral, filtering sunlight into gentle beams that danced upon the forest floor. Roy's senses heightened as he took in the sights, sounds, and smells. Every rustle could signal danger, every shadow could hide a threat. "Stay close and remain silent," Tork instructed, his voice low. "The creatures here are more attuned to movement and sound than to sight." Roy nodded, acutely aware of the weight of the staff in his hands. He followed Leah closely, mimicking her careful movements as she navigated through the underbrush. They moved in a tight formation, the warriors surrounding Roy, guiding him deeper into the wilderness. As they traveled, Leah occasionally pointed out plants and animals, explaining their uses and behaviors. "This is the gala plant," she said, gesturing to a small shrub with bright red leaves. "Its roots are edible and can provide energy. But be careful, the thorns can cause irritation." Roy examined the gala plant, taking mental notes. "And those creatures?" he asked, noticing small furry animals that scurry through the foliage. They were quick and agile, darting between the trees. "Are they dangerous?" "No," Leah replied with a laugh. "They are harmless. They help pollinate the flowers. The creatures you should be cautious of are the Zarkal." At the mention of Zarkal, Roy's stomach tightened. "What are they?" Leah's expression grew serious. "They are large, predatory creatures that roam these woods. They have razor-sharp teeth and hunt in packs. If you hear their call, you must find cover quickly." Torp led them through a narrow path that wound deeper into the heart of the forest. Roy could feel the temperature drop as they entered a shaded area, the air thick with humidity. Suddenly, a chilling howl echoed through the trees, sending a shiver down his spine. The warriors immediately fell silent, eyes scanning the area. "Zarkal," Tork said, his voice a whisper. "We must move." Roy's heart raced as they picked up the pace, moving swiftly through the underbrush. The howl echoed again, closer this time. He could feel a tension in the air, a mix of adrenaline and fear coursing through him. They pressed on, the warriors leading the way with purpose. After what felt like an eternity of cautious movement, they reached a clearing where the sunlight broke through the trees. It was a breathtaking sight, flowers blooming in colors more vibrant than Roy had ever seen, and a gentle stream flowing through the center of the glade. "Here, we can rest," Tork announced, the tension in his voice easing as they settled into the clearing. "But stay vigilant. The Zarkal may still be nearby." Roy took a moment to catch his breath, leaning against a tree. He felt the weight of the staff in his hands and remembered Leah's words. He was in a new world, one filled with wonder and danger. He looked around the clearing, taking in the beauty that surrounded him. Leah knelt by the stream, cupping her hands to drink. "This is the Tiller water," she said, her voice lightening. "It is pure and safe to drink. It can rejuvenate your energy." Roy knelt beside her, drinking deeply from the cool, refreshing water. As he looked around, he noticed small creatures flitting about, tiny, winged insects that glowed in the sunlight. "What are they?" he asked, intrigued. "They are called flowers," Leah explained. "They are harmless and help pollinate the flowers. They bring life to the forest." As they rested, Roy felt a sense of connection to this place. It was alive, vibrant, and full of magic. He turned to Torque, who was observing him closely. "What's next?" he asked, eager to continue his training. Torque's expression shifted to one of seriousness. "Now we prepare for the hunt," he said, standing tall. "If we are to train you in defending our home, you must learn to track and understand the Zarkul. They are our greatest threat." Roy's stomach knotted at the thought of hunting the predators, but he steeled himself. "I'm ready," he replied, determination flooding his voice. The warriors began to spread out in the clearing, moving silently as they prepared to demonstrate their skills. Torque gestured for Roy to follow him. "First, we will track them. Their presence leaves signs in the forest, broken branches, paw prints, and the remnants of their meals." Roy focused intently as Torque pointed out various signs of the Zarkul. He learned to recognize the patterns in the underbrush and how to spot the subtle disturbances in the foliage. "Every creature leaves a trace," Torque explained. "It is our duty to understand these signs and learn where they roam." With each lesson, Roy's confidence grew. He became adept at identifying trails, reading the language of the forest. Leia remained by his side, offering support and encouragement. "You're doing well, Roy. Just remember to trust your instincts," she said, her smile warm and encouraging. As they continued their training, Roy began to feel more at home in the forest. He relished the feeling of being part of a team, learning from the Linari and growing stronger alongside them. Each passing hour solidified his determination to protect this community and prove his worth. Just as they began to gather for another rest, a chilling howl echoed through the trees, much closer this time. The warriors immediately snapped into action, their expressions shifting to focus and determination. "Zarkul," Torque commanded, his voice resolute. "We must be ready." Roy's heart raced, adrenaline surging through him. The clearing, once serene, transformed into a battleground in an instant. Torque led them into the dense foliage, their movements swift and silent as they fanned out. Leah stayed close, her eyes sharp as they scanned the surroundings. "Remember what I taught you," Torque instructed, positioning Roy behind a sturdy tree. "Stay low, be quiet, and wait for my signal." The forest felt tense, the air thick with anticipation. Roy held his breath, listening intently as the howls grew closer. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes made his heart skip. He peered through the leaves, straining to catch a glimpse of the approaching danger. Then, out of the shadows, a pack of Zarkul emerged, massive creatures with sleek, muscular bodies and sharp, glistening teeth. Their eyes gleamed with a predatory hunger as they prowled through the underbrush. Roy's stomach turned, fear gripping him. "Stay still," Torque whispered, his voice steady. "Let them pass." Roy could hardly breathe as the Zarkul moved closer, their nostrils flaring as they sniffed the air. He felt the weight of the staff in his hands, a reminder of the danger they faced. The warriors remained poised, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. As the Zarkul continued their patrol, Torque raised his hand, signaling for everyone to hold their position. Roy's heart raced in his chest, the thrill of fear mingling with the adrenaline coursing through him. This was real. The forest was alive with danger, and he was right in the middle of it. Suddenly, one of the Zarkul lifted its head, sensing something amiss. Its gaze locked onto Roy's hiding spot, and time seemed to slow. Panic surged through him. "What do we do?" he thought, gripping his staff tightly. Torque remained calm, gesturing for the warriors to prepare. "On my signal, we will drive them back. We cannot allow them to threaten our home." The Zarkle shifted closer, their eyes narrowing as they caught Roy's scent. Now, Torque shouted, and chaos erupted. The warriors sprang into action, launching themselves from their hiding spots with fierce determination. Roy felt the surge of adrenaline as he joined the fray, his instincts kicking in. He swung his staff, mimicking the warriors' movements. The Zarkle reacted, growling in anger as they faced off against their attackers. The battle was fierce and chaotic, the forest alive with the sounds of growls and the clash of bodies. Roy fought alongside the Linari, his heart pounding as he tried to remember everything he had learned. He focused on his movements, channeling the strength of the warriors around him. The Zarkle were relentless, but so were the Linari, their determination fueling each strike. "Watch your flank," Leah shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. Roy turned just in time to sidestep a charging Zarkle, swinging his staff to deflect its lunge. The creature snarled, its teeth snapping just inches from his face. With a surge of adrenaline, Roy struck back, landing a blow on the Zarkle's side. It howled in pain, momentarily stunned. The other warriors seized the opportunity, working together to drive the pack away. In a blur of motion, Roy found himself engaged in a dance of survival. He was no longer just an outsider. He was part of the Linara community, fighting for their survival. The fear that had once gripped him began to fade, replaced by a fierce determination to protect his new home. After a fierce battle, the Zarkle retreated, howling in defeat as they fled into the depths of the forest. The warriors stood tall, breathing heavily but triumphant. Roy felt a rush of exhilaration. They had defended their territory. Torque turned to Roy, a proud smile on his face. "You fought well, human. You have earned your place among us." Leah rushed to Roy's side, her expression filled with pride. "You did it. You stood your ground." Roy felt a surge of joy wash over him. "I couldn't have done it without all of you," he replied, his voice filled with gratitude. As they regrouped in the clearing, Roy realized that he had not only faced danger, but had also forged deeper connections with the Linari. They were not just allies, they were a community, united in their struggles and triumphs. The forest, once a source of fear, had become a place of belonging. Roy understood that he was no longer just a stranger, he was a part of something greater. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, and he was ready to embrace this new life in the heart of the forest. A new alliance. In the wake of their victory of the Zarkle, the atmosphere in the clearing was electric. The Linari warriors exchanged glances of camaraderie, their pride evident in the way they carried themselves. Roy, still buzzing from the adrenaline of battle, felt a deep sense of belonging among them. The forest, once a daunting maze of danger, now felt like a home filled with allies and friends. As they returned to the settlement, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees. Roy walked beside Leah, her presence a comforting reminder that he was not alone in this alien world. "You fought with courage today," she said, her voice warm and sincere. "You've truly earned your place among us." "Thank you, Leah," Roy replied, feeling a swell of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance and support. You showed me how to listen to the forest." She smiled, her blue skin shimmering in the fading light. "You learned quickly. Many outsiders struggle to adapt, but you have embraced our ways." As they approached the settlement, Roy noticed the air was filled with the inviting aromas of a communal feast. The Linari were gathering, preparing to celebrate their victory. It was a time-honored tradition to honor those who fought bravely to protect their home, and Roy felt a mix of excitement and trepidation at being included in such an important ritual. Upon entering the heart of Linara, Roy was struck by the vibrant atmosphere. The central square was alive with laughter and music, Linari children dancing joyfully around the communal fire. The warriors, still bearing the marks of battle, joined in the festivities, sharing stories, and celebrating their triumph over the Zarkle. Roy took a moment to observe the Linari in their element. They moved with an innate grace, their laughter ringing out like music. It was a stark contrast to the tension of battle, and he felt a sense of warmth envelop him. They were a people united, not just in combat, but in joy, resilience, and community. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle above, Torque stood before the gathered crowd, his presence commanding silence. Tonight, we celebrate not just our victory over the Zarkal, but the bond we share with our new ally, Roy Grayson, he declared, his voice resonating through the clearing. Roy felt his heart race as the eyes of the Lenari turned toward him, some curious, others filled with admiration. You fought bravely, proving that even those from distant worlds can become part of our family. Let us honor this new alliance. A cheer erupted from the crowd, echoing through the forest. Lia's face lit up with pride as she clapped him on the back, her enthusiasm infectious. You see, they accept you. As the festivities began in earnest, Roy found himself swept up in the celebration. Lenari warriors shared tales of their past battles, their voices animated as they recounted the harrowing experiences that had shaped their community. Roy listened intently, captivated by the rich tapestry of their history. Food was brought out, large platters filled with an array of fruits, roots, and freshly prepared dishes that tantalized his senses. The flavors were unlike anything he had experienced before, sweet, spicy, and incredibly fresh. Roy dug in, savoring each bite as he sat with Lia and the other warriors. "This is amazing," he exclaimed, his mouth full. Lia chuckled, her laughter melodic. "It is the bounty of the forest. We live in harmony with nature, and it provides for us." As the night wore on, music filled the air, and the Lenari began to dance around the fire, their movements fluid and expressive. Roy watched, mesmerized by the way they celebrated life. The rhythm of the drums echoed through the clearing, drawing him in. "Come on, join us," Lia urged, pulling him to his feet. Feeling a surge of joy, Roy surrendered to the moment. He joined the dance, his movements awkward at first, but growing more confident as Lia guided him. Laughter filled the air, and he felt a sense of freedom that he hadn't felt in ages. The Lenari accepted him wholeheartedly, their smiles and laughter weaving him into the fabric of their community. As the night deepened, Roy realized he was no longer just an outsider. He was part of something special, a family forged in the fires of adversity and celebration. As the last notes of the evening faded into the night, Torque stepped forward once more, his expression serious but filled with warmth. "Tomorrow, we'll train harder. The Zarkal will not relent, and we must be prepared for whatever challenges lie ahead. But tonight, let us remember that we stand together as one." Roy felt a rush of gratitude for Torque's leadership. The Lenari had shown him kindness and acceptance, and he was eager to repay that trust by learning to protect them. After the festivities wound down, Roy found a quiet spot near the edge of the settlement. The stars twinkled overhead, and the gentle sounds of the forest surrounded him. He took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. Just days ago, he had been lost, alone, and afraid. Now, he had found a community that embraced him, a purpose that fueled him, and a friend in Lia who had shown him the way. "Roy," Lia's voice broke through his thoughts, and he turned to see her approaching. "Are you okay?" "I am," he replied, smiling as he regarded her. "Just thinking about how much has changed in such a short time." Lia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You've adapted well. But remember, the challenges are not over. Tomorrow will be another test." "I'm ready," he assured her, his voice steady. "I want to learn everything I can." "Good," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "We will face them together." As they stood side by side, Roy felt a sense of belonging wash over him. The bond they shared was growing stronger, rooted in mutual respect and understanding. He knew that with Lia by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, the sun rose bright and early, casting golden rays through the leaves. The sounds of the forest stirred him from his sleep, and he quickly dressed, feeling the excitement of a new day filled with possibilities. He joined the other Lenari warriors, their energy palpable as they prepared for another day of training. Talk gathered them in the clearing, outlining the day's plan. We will split into 2 groups. One will continue practicing combat techniques, while the other will focus on survival skills, tracking, foraging, and understanding the signs of the forest. Roy felt a thrill at the prospect of learning more about survival. He wanted to contribute to the Linari, not just as a fighter, but as someone who would understand and thrive in their world. "Roy," Talk said, calling him forward, "you will join the survival group with Laia. It is essential to know how to navigate the forest safely." As they set off, Roy felt a sense of purpose swelling within him. They ventured deeper into the woods, exploring areas he had never seen before. Leah taught him to recognize the different types of plants, their uses, and their dangers. She showed him how to identify animal tracks, read the signs of nature, and find fresh water. "Every detail matters," Leah explained as they walked, her voice filled with passion. "The forest communicates with us if we learn to listen." Roy soaked in every lesson, eager to prove his worth. They foraged for edible plants, carefully avoiding those that were toxic. Roy began to feel a sense of pride as he recognized certain plants and their properties, understanding how they fit into the ecosystem. As the sun climbed higher, they reached a small stream that bubbled through the underbrush. "This is one of our vital water sources," Leah said, kneeling beside it. "We must always protect it." Roy knelt beside her, admiring the clear water as it danced over smooth stones. "It's beautiful," he said. "It is life," Leah replied. "Without it, we cannot survive." They spent the day honing their skills, practicing tracking techniques, and learning how to use the forest's resources to their advantage. As they worked, Roy felt a growing bond with Leah, her laughter and encouragement bolstering his confidence. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, they returned to the settlement, exhausted but exhilarated. The day had been filled with lessons, and Roy was eager to share what he had learned with the other warriors. That evening, as they gathered for another communal meal, Roy realized how much he had come to cherish this life. The Linari had not only accepted him, they had embraced him. He felt a deep connection to this place and its people, and he was determined to protect them in every way he could. After dinner, Tolk stood before the gathering crowd once more, his expression serious. "Tomorrow, we will begin preparations for the next Zarkal incursion. They will return, and we must be ready." Roy's heart raced at the thought of facing the predators again, but he felt a surge of determination. He had fought alongside the Linari once. He could do it again. "Together," Tolk continued, "we will show the Zarkal that we are strong, united in our purpose." As the warriors cheered, Roy felt a sense of resolve wash over him. He had found his place in this world, a role that filled him with purpose and meaning. That night, as he lay beneath the stars, he thought about all that had transpired since his crash landing. The challenges he had faced, the friendships he had forged, and the sense of belonging he had discovered. It was all so much more than he had ever expected. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he was ready to face them head-on, alongside the Linari. Together, they would defend their home, protect their community, and continue to build a bond that transcended worlds.